second video in a series of 3. Having moderated a panel to discuss storage hypervisors at the recent Storage Networking World event, there was a quick realization by those of us on stage that the nature, value and possibilities of storage hypervisors were largely unclear to many in the audience. And so there exists an opportunity for more exposure for this topic. While everyone understands the benefits that server hypervisor technology has brought to servers in terms of utilization, flexibility and cost savings, the benefits that a storage hypervisor can bring to storage are less well known. In this selection from video interviews recorded just after the SNW session, I asked the panelists to explain what a storage hypervisor is and does.
When you say storage, they think of a box, and they're thinking of a hardwired architecture and a siloed thinking by particular vendor. So when we started talking about, no, you can spread these LUNs all over the place. Your storage can be from any different vendor. It can be a mix of stuff. We can auto-tier from one level to another. The questions were, really? A storage hypervisor, and I guess part of the thing is, first, what's virtualization? Virtualization is the ability to abstract away from the hardware and really take resources and make it simple to use by the users. Right. And it really becomes a resource that's in software. Somehow when we got to a storage hypervisor, what we also did is made a major leap forward where we added a lot more intelligence that allows you to automate and do a lot of the, what I will call self-managing of these capacity resources. So, and it also adds the performance advantages and so forth. So what it's really done is taken this construct of just being resources that are disks in the old days, and today it's the whole paradigm of I can give you capacity, but this capacity can also be high performance. It can also be continuously available so that it protects it from a failure. It's kind of funny because if you think about it, with storage, there's only like 4 things that you do. You make sure there's enough capacity to feed those applications. You make sure that there's data protection so that you protect it from failures. You allow the data to migrate to the place where economically you're getting the best performance and the best cost. Right. And you're also doing sort of the capacity management, making sure you got the best use. That's really what a storage hypervisor does, but it's a higher level software that gives you a universal way to manage across all the different kinds of storage devices, so you don't have to sit there and learn the EMC way, the IBM way, the HP way. Instead, you can manage all of this in a simple approach, and it does most of the work for you. You can't build hardwired architectures anymore. The world constantly is changing. The hardware devices are going to come and go. Today the fad is, new SSD devices like Fusion IO. Who knows what it's going to be tomorrow?
Virtualization, the idea of a storage hypervisor, it breaks that lock. It inserts a new software-based layer between the workloads, between the application administrators, between the storage administrators, and the physical hardware. I can now take heterogeneous sets of disk arrays and utilize those as a common pool. I can create virtual volumes in such a way that will fill up that common pool all the way to a maximum set of utilization. So I'm getting the most out of my resources. I can take virtual volumes and I can move them around. They have mobility from one disk array to another, from one vendor to another, from one tier to another. I can apply analytics to identify when is the best time to utilize the migration to improve performance, to deal with potential availability problems. I get a common set of management capabilities regardless of what disk array vendor I happen to choose. I'm not dealing with the hardware anymore. It's all the same value propositions that you expected in server environments, only it's available now in storage environments.
So it's an interesting phenomenon when I go talk to a customer or a CIO and I talk about a storage hypervisor. 2 interesting things happen. One is they look at me puzzled saying, I've never heard that word in my life. And number 2 is, I pretty much know what you mean. For me, the notion is very, very deeply analogous to what a server hypervisor does. I mean, I do remember, I grew up in the server business, and I remember when we used to have an entirely different way of building server infrastructure. It's hard for us to remember today the days of physical computing and big Unix boxes and even bigger mainframes and all those kinds of things. Those three value propositions of efficiency, lower deployment cost, and higher agility, that's what we're trying to do with the storage hypervisor. The exact same thing, but we're trying to do it for those storage assets, which are still ridiculously inefficiently used, way more expensive than they need to be, and certainly agile is not a word that people would use to describe any of the storage that we build in data centers today, right? I mean, once you put some bits on a disk drive, heaven help you, you theoretically can move it around, but we don't do it very often for darn good reasons, because it's painful and it's difficult, and there's a lot of proprietary things in storage systems. We're going to find that storage is just as fungible, just as efficient, just as low cost to go, and it's just so sort of easy to deploy, because we just got all these, we have storage hardware on our floor, and when we need to access it or provision it for a new application that's in a virtual machine environment, it will just be a trivial operation. And this is the idea of what the storage hypervisor can do, and there's certainly a lot of technical different ways to solve the problem.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is terminology, because there have been different terms used for the same thing. And really what it is in my mind, and the term I use a lot of times when I talk is the storage computer, but it's a set of function that automates a lot of things that previously had been done manually, like provisioning, like managing for performance, like tiering. And so we talk about individual topics like virtualization, like dynamic tiering, like thin provisioning, and this is sort of a kind of an umbrella, overarching term to define that. What I want is customers to evaluate the technology, evaluate the vendors that can deliver products, and just do it. And at the risk of taking away from a Nike commercial, just do it. And first step to me is storage virtualization, and then get into things like tiering and thin provisioning. But adopt the technology. It's there. It's robust. It's mature. Just do it.